Y'all already know, though, I spend a lot of time thinking about my long-term options in terms of career and education. And I have very different paths opening up in front of me. Sometimes I think I should just go back to Canada and enroll in a course in baking. There is one college in Canada that I know of that doesn't just have a general, certificate program, practical college certificate program in baking, running a bakery, but they also have a specialized course within it on vegan baking. I think I should do that, take on that direction, possibly work in bakeries for a few years, possibly run my own vegan bakery or some kind of food service linked to veganism as a result. I mean, at the opposite extreme, of course, I could get a PhD in almost any formal academic discipline linked to politics, sociology, history, Asian studies, but quite a number of different fields that I have a background in. And I've been thinking too about whether or not I should get an MPA. MPA is Masters of Public Administration. And that might be useful for running a vegan nonprofit, for organizing a foundation or institution for the movement. But also it could be useful for running some kind of educational business linked to teaching languages. At this point, studying and teaching languages is a lifelong burden for me. Could I run a school in Canada as a nonprofit that taught Chinese to white people and black people, taught Chinese to non-Chinese people, basically, taught Chinese as a language to adult students, I'm presuming, or university-age students or what have you. I'm not assuming a children's school, but fee-for-service based private sector educational institution, similar to many I've visited in person and similar to the one that I was myself a student at when I was in Kunming. And then would it be possible long-term for me to match that career path and running that kind of small foundation, small business, small institution, to match that with my own interest in endangered languages, including Korean Ojibwe? So in Canada, what I imagine is you have a foundation like that. Maybe your main thing is teaching Chinese. Maybe you also take on some teachers to teach French, Spanish, German, whatever the market is looking for, whatever there's a shortage of teachers and educational options and opportunities in. Maybe you can take on other languages. But then maybe you can apply for government grants and funding and do fundraising, and on a charitable basis also offer education and outreach for Cree, Ojibwe, Mohawk, or other languages that are native to Canada. Those of you who have been following this channel for a long time would know I really do have an interest in that. Now, to be clear, I do not imagine myself ever being a Chinese language teacher, but I think I could be a manager who is managing a foundation like that and hiring and selecting the teachers and what have you. So, I really think about a tremendously diverse range of jobs, some of them very directly linked to veganism as a movement, like baking. I wouldn't be interested in becoming a baker at all if I wasn't vegan, or if it didn't have the potential to be a positive part of, my future in the movement, and et cetera, et cetera. All the way over to totally academic, ended PhD work, or something like the Masters of Public Administration in between. Because Masters of Public Administration, you should learn how to run a nonprofit foundation or agency, how to deal with all the government paperwork, how to do every element of running that kind of foundation agency, if it's a good program. And if it's a bad program, who knows what you're going to get. And there are other options that I've even talked about openly on Patreon that are really outside of the box. This may surprise some of you guys, but I did have enough of a background in the arts. I feel confident that I could earn a good enough living if I went back to arts college and got a degree, simply got a college degree in painting. There's a small private, well, all the private schools in Canada actually receive government handouts. So I don't know if it's called private or public, but anyway. But there's a small arts college in Victoria called Vancouver Island School of the Arts. And I actually do feel confident that I could just take some courses there in painting and sit down and work seriously on, my skills as an illustrator, and that I could pretty quickly be turning over canvases on the art market and making a reasonable amount of money doing so. Now, I have that expectation rightly or wrongly, partly because of the many painters I have known face-to-face in my own life, and partly because of the history and experience I've read about various painters. I have no claim to great manual skill in painting things, but some of the painters I've known who were successful, that was also true of. And, so often you see painters who do have that skill, but don't really have something to say, don't really have something interesting or brilliant or provocative to offer on the canvas. So, there's this question of the medium versus the message, and what is it that makes your art interesting. And also, look, I said this to my girlfriend the other day, a lot of people involved in the arts, part of the problem is that they perceive the role of the artist in the same way that school children perceive the role of the fireman or the role of the policeman. They often have an idea of what it means to be an artist that they invented in their own mind's eye when they were children, and they never challenged that. And I'm very much at the opposite extreme, because my experiences in museums and galleries and the art market, and just reading the art newspaper and looking critically and constructively at how the art market works and how artists really survive. So even though that may seem shocking to some of you guys, like, what, I'm going to finish this degree in Asian studies and then turn around and become a creative artist, become a painter, to me, that is actually a much more reliable route to earning money than, say, opening a restaurant. There are a lot of question marks there about opening a restaurant, including just having the capital to start money to do that, or starting the foundation in education. There are a lot of hurdles. You're talking about finishing 2 different university degrees and then going to a bank with the little bit of money I've got and trying to get a bank loan to start that kind of institution. That's actually a relatively long and uncertain road. And in fact, getting some credentials, taking some courses, and really working hard, which I'm capable of doing, just wake up early and go to bed late at night, working on your own skills as a painter and taking courses at a college, building that up. And, having the humility and the pragmatic attitude to recognize that you are producing canvases, especially early in your career, that are going to hang in hotels and motels and office buildings and boardrooms, you know what I mean? And people's private apartments, understanding, the function of the fine arts is not so different from the decorative arts. Having that kind of attitude, I'm actually much more confident that within a couple of years, I could be paying my own rent through the fine arts than I am that I could be doing it through the tortuous route of taking my political science background, putting it into Masters of Public Administration, then putting public administration into a productive career in basically nonprofit education and language education. And I don't know, if I go into baking, I think my career prospects as a vegan baker are exactly as good as the money I've got in my own pocket, because I don't think anyone else is going to give me startup capital to start up or operate that kind of business. So that is what I've been thinking about lately, and I'm making this video, as I warned, partly so I can share it with my own mom. What up, Mom?